Ever feel like all the productivity advice out there just kind of makes you feel more stressed? Like to get anything done, you have to turn into like a robot or something.
Totally. It's always push harder, longer, faster.
Right. What if there was like a way to actually enjoy being productive? That's what we're diving into today with feel-good productivity. It's not like those other productivity books. This one ditches that whole grind idea and says, hey, maybe feeling good is like the key thing.
Yeah, it's a total mind shift.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling good being the result of getting things done, it's the foundation. It's like the starting point.
And the author actually had this like huge realization that kind of sparked the whole book.
Oh, yeah.
They're a doctor, and they were describing this awful Christmas Day shift at the hospital, totally swamped, dream job slipping away, just completely burned out.
Wow. And that's when they realized something had to change.
Yeah. But not just for them, for like everyone, how we all approach productivity. They went deep into the research and found that positive emotions, those good vibes from endorphins, dopamine, all that good stuff, they actually like supercharge your brain.
Interesting. So it's like they actually help you focus.
Yeah. So it's not just about fleeting happiness, it actually fuels your energy and focus.
That makes sense because it always feels impossible to get things done when you're running on fumes.
Exactly. And get this, it's not just a quick boost. Studies actually show happiness is linked to long-term success. Career, relationships, even your health, they all get better. The book calls it a virtuous cycle, where feeling good gives you the energy to do great work, which makes you feel even better, and on and on. Okay, I am here for this virtuous cycle, so how do we actually tap into it?
Well, the book breaks it down into three main areas: play, power, and people. I kind of see it like leveling up in a video game, making work more engaging, not just like another chore on your list.
I love that. So let's start with play. I have to admit, this one's surprised me a little. It argues that, like, somewhere along the way, we forget how to be playful, how to, like, tap into that childlike curiosity.
Oh, I totally see that.
Like, we're so serious all the time as adults.
Right.
And they illustrate this with this amazing story about Richard Feynman. He was this brilliant physicist who actually won a Nobel Prize. Wait, the Richard Feynman? The one who used to crack safes for fun?
That's the one. Well, he went through this period where he'd completely lost his passion for physics.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until he started like seeing it as a game again that he rediscovered that love for it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The book mentioned he spent weeks analyzing why this plate wobbled in the cafeteria just because he was curious.
Oh.
That's incredible.
And that like playful curiosity led to some really groundbreaking insights for him.
Makes you wonder what we've been missing, right?
It does. Like we all have that capacity for play within us, even if it's been dormant for a while. The book actually talked about this study on rats. Turns out they love to play too.
Hmm.
And guess what? Their brains light up with dopamine just like ours do when we're having fun.
So it's not just about goofing off, it's actually hardwired into us to find joy in what we do.
It seems like it, yeah.
But how do we, like, actually bring that back, that playfulness into our work, especially when it feels, well, like work?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the book gives some really interesting strategies. One of them is to embrace a sense of adventure, even in your everyday tasks.
Like what? Like turning your to-do list into, like, a treasure map.
Well, maybe not that literal,
Okay.
but you get the idea, right? Even something as simple as like taking a new route to work, trying a different coffee shop. Those little adventures can actually make a difference.
Okay, I'm already feeling more playful just thinking about it. But what about that feeling of, I don't know, being in the driver's seat of your own work? Like, doesn't that have to be a part of feeling good too?
Absolutely. And that's actually where the power element comes in.
Okay.
Not like power over other people, but that inner sense of control, having confidence in your own abilities.
Oh, okay. So, like knowing you've got this even when things get tough.
Exactly. And the book actually talks about how believing in yourself can actually impact like your actual performance.
Yeah.
There's this study they talk about where these students had to climb a wall.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who watched a video beforehand of someone else successfully climbing it, they actually did better.
Wait, are you serious? Just from watching someone else do it?
Yeah. It's called the vicarious mastery experience.
Wow.
Basically, just seeing someone else succeed can actually give your own confidence a boost. Think about it like when you've learned a new skill, maybe like playing an instrument or cooking something new. Didn't it help to see someone else do it first?
Oh, totally. It suddenly felt way less intimidating.
Right. And it's not just about watching other people. It's also about building your own skills. Like each step you take, each challenge you overcome, it all adds up to a stronger sense of I can do this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So play is about, like, tapping into that inner child, and then power is all about like owning your abilities. What about the people part of this whole thing?
This one's all about the power of connection, surrounding yourself with the right people.
Community. I like it.
Yeah. They use musician Brian Eno as an example.
Oh, I know Brian Eno. He's done some really cool ambient music, right?
Yes. And he's worked with some huge names in music. But he's actually said that if he hadn't stumbled upon this like vibrant, supportive music scene early on, he probably would have just become an art teacher.
Oh, wow. So it was really the community that sparked his creativity.
Exactly. They call this genius. The idea that we're more creative and innovative when we're around the right people, like this collective energy that kind of lifts everyone up.
That makes sense, because I know when I'm like feeling stuck on something, just talking it out with a friend or a colleague can totally help me see things in a new light.
For sure. It's like feeding off each other's energy and ideas.
Mm.
Of course, the book also acknowledges that, not all work environments are created equal. Sometimes you're stuck with like difficult
Oh,
colleagues.
yeah. We've all been there.
But even then, it's about focusing on like building those positive relationships where you can, setting boundaries when you need to, and remembering that like your own well-being is the priority.
This is all great stuff, but let's be real. We don't always feel playful and powerful. What about those times when you're just totally stuck?
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the unblocking comes in. The book talks about three main things that hold us back: uncertainty, fear, and then inertia. And trust me, we all experience these.
Oh, tell me about it. Uncertainty, especially, that feeling of not knowing where to even begin. It's like having a million tabs open in your brain, but you can't click on any of them.
It's the worst. The book uses this analogy of having a pebble in your shoe.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to like run to meet a friend, but that pebble is bugging you like every step. You could like push through the pain or give up and stay home.
Or you could just stop and take the pebble out.
Exactly. That's what unblocking is. It's like just take the pebble out.
Yeah.
So for uncertainty, the book suggests asking why 5 times to get to the root of what's going on. And they have this fascinating example from Toyota. They use it to troubleshoot problems on their production line.
Wait, Toyota, like the car company?
Yep. They'd ask why over and over until they found the real source of the problem.
Hmm.
And what the book is saying is that we can use this for any decision, big or small.
Oh, interesting. So it's like you're playing detective, but with your own brain.
Exactly. It helps you to like uncover these hidden assumptions and get clear on what actually matters. They call it finding your commander's intent, that like overarching goal that guides your actions, even when your plans have to change.
Okay, that makes sense. But even when you know your why, just figuring out the how can be its own struggle, like just those nitty-gritty steps.
Totally. And the book has this really funny example about this from The Office. Remember, like Jim. He's asked to give this rundown of his clients, but he has no idea what that even means.
Oh my gosh, I love The Office. Poor Jim, always getting stuck with the vague tasks.
Right. And instead of asking for clarification, he spends like the whole day avoiding his boss because he's terrified of looking stupid.
Oh, I've been there. So how do we like get unstuck from that whole what do I do feeling?
Well, the book talks about setting nice goals.
Nice goals. Tell me more about this.
Okay, so NICE stands for net positive, intentional, clear, and easy.
Okay.
And it's a framework for setting goals that are both motivating but also like actually doable.
I like that. It's not just setting any goal. It's about making sure it's actually good for you and that it's something you can accomplish. What was that net positive part again?
Oh, yeah. Net positive means like considering not just the benefits of a goal, but also like the potential downsides too, making sure it's actually worth it.
That's actually really smart. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got our nice goals. What's next?
Well, even with like clear goals, we can still totally like psych ourselves out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's where the crystal ball method comes in handy.
Ooh, crystal ball method.
Oh, yeah.
Does it involve actual crystals?
No, not quite. It's more about anticipating like the obstacles before they derail you.
Oh, okay.
So like imagine it's a week from now and you haven't started that task that you were like dreading.
Uh-huh.
Ask yourself, okay, what are the top 3 reasons why I didn't get to it?
Oh, wow. I like that. It's like you're outsmarting your future procrastinating self.
Exactly. By just identifying those potential roadblocks ahead of time, you can actually create strategies to like overcome them.
Mm.
So if you know you'll be tempted to like scroll through social media instead of, writing that report, you could actually schedule like dedicated work sprints and put your phone in another room.
Oh, I need to try that. I am the queen of getting sidetracked by social media. What other unblocking gems does this book have for us?
Let's see. Well, there's the power of implementation intentions. Have you ever heard of those?
Not ringing any bells.
Okay, so it's about setting up these if-then statements in your brain that link a specific trigger to like an action that you want to take. So like
Yeah.
if it's 8 a.m., then I will start my day with a quick meditation.
Oh. I do something similar, but I call them like mini habits. Like instead of telling myself, I'm going to work out for an hour, I just tell myself to put on my workout clothes.
Yeah.
And then like 9 times out of 10, once I'm dressed, I actually end up exercising.
Exactly. It's just about making it easier for yourself to like take that first step.
I like it. These are such great tips. What about those of us who struggle with like time management though? Like I feel like I'm constantly juggling a million things and I can never get ahead of my schedule.
I hear that. For that, the book actually recommends time blocking, like actually dedicating specific chunks of time to certain tasks.
Okay.
It can feel a little weird at first,
Yeah.
but it can really help to like minimize distractions and actually helps you get into a flow state.
Okay, yeah. So instead of getting bogged down by constantly switching between all these different tasks, you're giving yourself permission to just focus on one thing at a time.
Exactly. And it actually helps to reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed because you know
Yeah.
that you've actually allocated time for everything.
Okay, I'm definitely adding that to my productivity toolkit.
Right.
So we've tackled uncertainty. What about fear? That's a big one for me, especially when it comes to like putting myself out there, taking risks. I think we've all had those moments where like fear just kind of takes over.
Oh, absolutely. It can be totally paralyzing. What's interesting is the book talks about how fear actually comes from a lack of self-awareness. Like we might not even realize we're afraid because we're so good at rationalizing, like putting things off.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like, oh, I'm just too busy to start that project right now. But deep down, you're just terrified of failing.
Exactly. So the book suggests this super simple but powerful exercise. Like when you're feeling stuck, just ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of?
Okay.
And just like naming the fear can actually be really helpful. It kind of takes away its power.
It's like shining a light on those like shadowy anxieties. Once they're out in the open, they suddenly seem a lot less scary.
Yeah. And it's not just in our heads either. Like fear actually triggers a physical response too, right? That whole fight or flight thing.
Yeah. Your heart starts racing, palms get sweaty.
And like that's super helpful if you're actually in danger.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to, write a report, not so much.
Yeah.
Having that stress response turned on all the time can really lead to burnout and anxiety.
So how do we dial down the fear and just get back to feeling good?
Well, the book has a bunch of techniques for this. One that really stood out to me is the 10-10-10 rule.
Okay, what's the 10-10-10 rule?
Okay, so it's super simple. When you're facing some decision that's just like freaking you out,
Yeah.
just ask yourself, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes, 10 months, and then 10 years?
Okay.
It's just a way to get some perspective.
So instead of getting caught up in that initial like wave of panic, you're forcing yourself to look at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Our fears are often like totally blown out of proportion when we're just focused on like the short term. But when we zoom out, we realize that most things aren't as big of a deal as we make them out to be.
I like that. Okay, so we've identified our fear, put it into perspective. Now what?
This is where what they call the confidence equation comes in. It basically says that confidence comes from taking action, not the other way around.
Wait, so you're saying we shouldn't wait until we feel confident to actually start something?
Exactly. We get stuck in this trap of thinking, oh, I'll do that thing, but like when I feel more confident. But the thing is, confidence is built through action, even if it's messy or imperfect.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like that whole fake it till you make it approach.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it's not about being inauthentic. It's about realizing that you don't need to have everything figured out to get started.
Yeah.
Like each small step you take, even if it's messy or uncomfortable, it builds your confidence over time.
Okay, I can get behind that. What about those times when you're feeling anxious about something specific? Like, let's say, giving a presentation or something like that.
Yeah, those are always tough.
Yeah.
The book actually talks about Adele's approach to stage fright.
Oh, interesting.
So apparently, like instead of looking at the whole crowd, she'll just pick out one friendly face and she pretends like she's just singing to that one person.
That's such a good trick. It's like you're shrinking the situation down to a manageable size.
Exactly. And it kind of plays into this whole thing called the spotlight effect, which is like this tendency we all have to overestimate how much other people are actually paying attention to us.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, everyone is so wrapped up in their own little worlds, they're barely noticing what we're doing.
That is reassuring. It's so easy to get caught up in that feeling of like being judged all the time. Are there any other, like, fear-busting strategies we should know about?
Let's see. There's one more that's a little out there. It's called the Batman effect. Have you heard of that?
The Batman effect, like the
The
superhero.
one and only. So it's actually based on all this research that shows that adopting like an alter ego can actually help people perform better under pressure.
Wait, seriously? Like, I should create a whole superhero persona to, like, tackle my to-do list?
It doesn't have to be that literal. The idea is more about identifying someone you admire who kind of embodies those qualities you're hoping to channel.
Okay.
And then you can actually visualize yourself stepping into their shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like adopting their posture, their mindset, even their outfit, if it helps.
Okay, that's kind of brilliant. I'm picturing myself, like, channeling my inner Michelle Obama before my next presentation.
Exactly. I mean, it might sound kind of silly, but it can
Uh-huh.
actually like trick your brain into feeling more confident and capable.
I love it. Okay, so we've covered uncertainty and fear. That brings us to our final blocker, inertia. And this one feels particularly relevant in, like, our fast-paced, always-on world. It's like, yeah, we're supposed to be productive all the time, but sometimes you just feel stuck.
Totally. It's that feeling of being frozen.
Yeah.
Like you know what you should be doing, but you just can't.
And then the guilt sets in, and it just makes it even harder to start.
Ugh, the worst. It's like a vicious cycle. The book actually uses this rocket ship analogy to explain this.
Okay.
So like it takes a ton of energy to launch a rocket into space, right?
Yeah.
But once it's in motion, it takes way less energy to keep it going.
So it's that initial push that's the hardest part.
Exactly. And it's the same with our own like productivity. The book actually calls it reducing friction. Like all those little things that make it hard to get started, like having a really cluttered workspace or like a really complicated system for getting things done.
I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes even the thought of, like, clearing my desk feels so overwhelming that I just end up staring at it for, like, an hour.
The worst. So the key is to make it as easy as possible for you to take that first step.
Right.
And they actually mention this fascinating study in the book about a grocery store. They wanted to figure out how to nudge shoppers to buy more vegetables, right?
Right?
So they put these green inlays in all the shopping carts and had these signs highlighting like the most popular veggies.
And that actually worked.
Yeah, those little changes made people buy more vegetables. It shows how even small reductions in like friction can have a huge impact.
So less about willpower, more about clever design.
Exactly. And another powerful strategy is defining the next action.
What does that mean, next action?
It's just about like breaking down a big, overwhelming task into these smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on like writing a whole book, you just focus on writing the next sentence.
Okay. Little bites?
Exactly. And don't underestimate like tracking your progress either. Just seeing how far you've come, even if it's baby steps, can be really motivating.
Oh, I am all about tracking progress. I have, like, a whole system of color-coded spreadsheets and habit trackers.
I love that. It's all about celebrating those little wins along the way, right?
Yeah.
And that can help you stay motivated for the long haul.
What about those times where you're just, like, so stuck? Even breaking it down feels impossible.
Totally. That's when the 5-minute rule can be a lifesaver. You simply commit to doing something, literally anything, for just 5 minutes.
Wait, just 5 minutes? That seems almost too easy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The magic is that those 5 minutes are usually enough to break through that, like, initial inertia.
I do find that, like, once I actually get started on something, it's never actually as bad as I built it up to be in my head.
Exactly. It's like you're outsmarting your brain.
I like it.
And speaking of support, the book also talks about the importance of finding an accountability buddy.
So, like, someone who can kind of help you stay on track, offer encouragement.
Yeah, exactly. Just having someone to share your goals with, celebrate your wins, and just like be there when you stumble can make a huge difference.
I'm a huge believer in, like, the power of community. Isn't that proverb? Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes, love that. And then finally, the book talks about the importance of self-forgiveness.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It's so easy to beat ourselves up for like procrastinating or not getting things done perfectly. But honestly, all that negative self-talk just makes things worse.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. I am my own worst critic.
Right? We all are.
Yeah.
It's so important to be kind to ourselves, especially when we're feeling stuck. And the research actually shows that people who forgive themselves for procrastinating are more productive afterwards.
Interesting. So instead of dwelling on past mistakes, it's better to just, like, focus on moving forward.
Exactly. Just give yourself permission to like start fresh and try again.
This has been such a great deep dive. I feel like we've covered so much ground. We talked about the core elements of like feel good productivity, that's play, power, and people, and then all those sneaky things that hold us back, like uncertainty, fear, and inertia. Plus, we even got some like ninja level techniques for overcoming those.
And it's all about recognizing how much our mindset and our emotions really affect our ability to get things done. It's
Yeah.
not about pushing harder, it's about feeling better and then using that positive energy to fuel our work and our lives.
It's like this book is giving us permission to completely redefine what productivity even means, you know? It's not about just checking things off a to-do list. It's about feeling good, connecting with people, and doing work that feels meaningful.
And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about? Feeling happy and fulfilled.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with today?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that feeling good isn't some luxury. It's like a superpower. When we actually prioritize our well-being, cultivate a sense of play and curiosity, and build those strong connections with others, we unlock our full potential. And work starts to feel less like work and more like a joyful expression of who we are.
That's beautifully said. So to our listeners, go forth and unleash your feel-good productivity, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.